Here they are, the finalists in the women's vault competition. The top performer in qualification for the women's vault final, Oksana Chusevitna of Uzbekistan. She will be the last to go. Second best in qualifying was Greta Moya of Hungary. She'll be the anti-penultimate gymnast, and we'll have Teja Belak in between them. So the top three all coming right at the end. A really interesting mixture of young athletes right the way through to veteran performers, the veteran of veterans, if you will.
Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you our finalists representing Croatia. Let's welcome
Tiana Koren, fifth best in the preliminary round. Sara Peter of Hungary, fourth best. Medina Kabasova of Kazakhstan, eighth best in qualification and a senior international debutant. Jasha Kishalev of Slovenia, sixth best in qualifying. Madeline Marshall of New Zealand, seventh best in qualifying. Greta Moya of Hungary, second best in qualifying. Slovenia's Teja Belak, the third best in qualification. And Oksana Chusevitna of Uzbekistan, the top performer in qualifying. As is customary, we'll have the warm-ups of the first four. So far in the FIG World Cup Series, we've had the Cottbus podium, seeing Teja Belak take the gold medal, Jasha Kishalev winning silver, and Oksana Chusevitna securing bronze. We had exactly the same group of gymnasts on the podium in Baku in a different order: Chusevitna, Belak and Kishalev. Then a totally different podium in Antalya in Turkey. Jayla Hang and Claire Peace of the United States of America, with India's Pranati Nayak winning the bronze medal. And that took us to Osijek last week, where Valentina Georgieva of Bulgaria won the gold. Yulin Min from China was the silver medalist, and once again Jayla Hang of the USA was on the podium.
Ladies and gentlemen, still our competition is under the supervision of our LIG technical president. For men's artistic gymnastics, we have Mr. Andrew Thomas, and for this competition and the women's artistic gymnastics, Mrs. Donatella Sachi. For the warm-up on board, each gymnast is allowed to have 2 vaults. For your warm-up.
Moments away from the start of the women's vault final here in Doha. You're watching World Cup action in the sport of artistic gymnastics from the Aspire Dome. The Aspire Dome is the home of the Aspire Academy, which was created just over 20 years ago to try to help the development of Qatar's own athletes and to be an educational institution too. It's played a very important role in the development of their national football team.
And the average score of the vault will be their final score.
We did have a strong performance from a gymnast from Qatar in the pommel horse qualification. But Hakan Al-Harid almost made it into the final. He was the 9th best, a matter of a few hundredths away from a qualification spot.
Gymnast, here one more time. Heads up.
Tijana Korent from Croatia, the 35-year-old. She turns 36 in a couple of weeks' time. She'll be the gymnast to get us started. So, Jacek Kiselev done. Here we go.
First gymnast representing Croatia, Tijana Korent.
Tijana Korent of Croatia. A matter of 9 days away from her 36th birthday. Winner of World Cup medals going right the way back to over a decade ago. And she starts with a handspring front pike half. Now, interestingly, in qualification, Tijana Korent had a 3.8 difficulty vault. So she will be up here because handspring front pike half is a 4.0 difficulty vault. Gymnast whose strongest performances seem to still be within her grasp. She's really hit form in her 30s. Hugely diligent, hugely hard-working, an athlete with a great social conscience as well. 2010, that first World Cup title, won in Ostrava. So we don't have, although we do have the first score. It's 12.8, so that represents the improvement to her difficulty. And she employs a full twisting Yurchenko as vault number 2, and that was a 13 scoring qualification. So she may have helped herself creep up into contention for a medal there.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Our first gymnast representing Croatia, a 36-year-old gymnast who first participated to Doha Artistic Gymnastics World Cup, and that's Tijana Korent.
It's a well-performed full twisting Yurchenko vault. Now, the execution was 13 in the preliminary round. It'll be interesting to compare it here. She's made 2 European Championship vault finals. 13 again. And that leads to a 13.1. So she's up by just over a tenth from qualification. The reason there is that she also has picked up that 0.2 bonus, which I'll come back to in a moment, that she had in qualification, as did this next gymnast. This is Sara Petter of Hungary. 4th best in qualifying with 12.866. a medalist at the European Games on vault, Sarapeta. Also the reigning Hungarian Masters champion. Well, that was nice. Another full twisting Yurchenko. We're expecting to see from her the same vaults as we just witnessed from Tiana Korin, but done in the opposite combination. That according to what she has indicated to the judges beforehand. And as I'm sure many of you know, I'm sure most of you know, that you can do whatever vault you like. Doesn't matter what you actually indicate on the board, doesn't matter what you submit. But it is the only apparatus where the gymnasts do provide some sense to the judges of what to expect. But as long as they perform a legal vault, they will be assessed on their performance of that legal vault. And as long as the feet actually are the first thing to make contact, even if they don't then remain in an upright position. Now that is better than qualification, 13.1. Vault number 2. We anticipate a handspring front pike half. That is what we get, with quite a big landing adjustment from Sarapeta, the 22-year-old from Budapest. She has been a World Cup medalist on vault, going back in the day to Paris in 2019, that same year when she was on the European Games podium. I must apologise, by the way, I muddled her qualification position around with Tiana Korin. Korin was the 4th best in qualifying, Peta the 5th best. And with a 13.166, it's a 12.966 for the second vault. Sarapeta has just about gone ahead of Tiana Korin, but it's very tight. They both have that same 0.2 bonus for... Well, we'll come back to that because we almost missed that first vault there from Medina Kabbasova, and we certainly don't want to miss that because it's her senior international debut. Chance to enjoy it again. Here is Medina Kabbasova of Kazakhstan, the 15-year-old. Good toe point and a decent landing in her full twisting Yurchenko. This is a gymnast who competed at the Asian Junior Championships in 2023. Big occasion for her, this. Didn't she start nicely?
First vault for
12.766 is the score for the full twisting Yurchenko. Second vault. And she uses the laid out Tsukahara as her second vault. Very nice to see this performance from a young competitor, new to the senior international stage. Really well done. What a great experience.
Gymnast who happens to be first participating to Doha Artistic Gymnastics World Cup, and that is Medina Kabasova.
A lot to like about the way she performs. Execution will get tidied up as she continues throughout her career. But all you really want at this stage, when you've got a gymnast who comes through new to the senior circuit in a first World Cup final, is they get through the 2 vaults securely. She did that. A little more toe point can be applied, more precise contact with the vaulting table. All of that is there to be analysed and developed, but very good start. Well done to her. Absolutely, take it in, enjoy the moment. There'll be many more of them, doubtless. So 12.366 for a 12.566 average. Her difficulty lower than those that we've seen so far. The 31-year-old from the capital city of Slovenia, Ljubljana, Sasha Kiselev. And she performs the 1.5 twisting Yurchenko vault, so that is the most complicated vault we've seen so far. There was certainly a loss of form early on in her delivery of it, but it will carry an additional 4/10. Takes a moment just to steady the legs and bring them together as she embarks upon the vault there. But what she is doing is performing higher difficulty. She was the 6th best in qualification. This opening vault scored a 13.333. .233, so it is very similar to qualification, and it is the single best scoring vault that we've had so far. The gymnast who made the top 5 at the European Championships a few years ago. She's close to her 30th World Cup podium appearance. And that was well performed from Sasha Kiselev. Now, she had a 12.166 score for the second vault in qualification. We're certainly going to see a transformation there. Again, some issues with the form in the air, but that was the handspring front tuck full twist, and that vault carries a 4.2 degree of difficulty. In qualification, she was only credited with 3.6. It is her standard second vault, but it's gone a lot better than the qualification phase. Yes, that's a transformation, 12.8. So with 13.216, she goes into the gold medal position. That is the 6th best qualifier. And the gain there is about 3/4 of a mark from qualification on vault number 2. Now we're moving through the warm-ups for the second half. This is Greta Moya. We have Taya Belak and Oksana Chusevitna to come. We'll start with a really fine young gymnast from New Zealand, Madeline Marshall. Great to see her in this final, her first time ever at World Cup level. And then we will conclude with Oksana Chusevitna. A matter of 2 months tomorrow, her 50th birthday. Hope you're enjoying all of the coverage so far from the Doha World Cup of Artistic Gymnastics. This is the women's vault final. We're about to embark upon the second half of it. Then we're going to bring you the men's pommel horse, women's uneven bars, and the men's steel rings finals. There's young Madeline Marshall. Born in Tooting in the United Kingdom, made her debut at the World Championships last year. And she has competed already at the Doha World Cup. She was the first reserve for the vault final last year. So how great that she's come back a year later and actually pushed her way into the final. That after setting personal bests on every apparatus at international level in Doha last year. She was very proud of that, and rightly so. It's a great accomplishment to come to a big World Cup event and to produce your best ever international scores on not just one piece, but every single one of them. Tells you a lot about her, doesn't it? And we'll tell you a lot about her in due course, the great Oksana Chusevitna, one of those about whom it would be insulting not to say the great. Good luck to Madeline Marshall of New Zealand. This is her first World Cup final ever. She has been a medalist at the New Zealand Championships. She missed the last Oceania Championships, having picked up a very unfortunate injury just before it. So it's wonderful that she has rebounded here. This 18-year-old gymnast who was born in Tooting in the south of London in the United Kingdom. She's trained both in New Zealand and at Tolworth Gymnastics Club in Surbiton. Vault number 1 for Madeline Marshall. Very nice, well done. Full twisting Yuchenko to start. That will steady the nerves, one imagines. That's got to feel good, hasn't it? Getting through the opening vault. Now she's there, now she's made it through the opening vault in a first World Cup final. Reminded herself that she's done it a million times before and can do it a million times again. It's just the context is slightly different when it's a big international final. 13.033, well done, Madeline Marshall. Now let's see what we get from vault number 2. This was a 12 in qualification. The indication is for a layout Tsukahara. That's what's on the board. And there we go. Madeline Marshall from New Zealand, who finished her A-levels last year. She commented that she was thrilled to destroy the evidence of A-level physics, but she did get through it all. Absolutely, absolutely. I bet there are lots of you out there who know that feeling. She just collapsed into the chair. Whether you've done that as a gymnast before at the end of a competition that's gone well, or whether you've just done that in life after a hard day's work, after something you were worried about. We just saw it, the universality of human relief expressed by Madeline Marshall. And what's promising for her there is that she will actually have improved upon her qualification score by quite some way, because she only got a 3.4 difficulty in the preliminary round. This will be a 3.8. There we go, 12.4, and you could see the reaction from the coach there. Yes, you got it, you got the difficulty score. Really well done, Madeline Marshall. She's in 4th position. Now this is Greta Moya of Hungary. Second best in qualification. Greta Moya of Hungary, certainly somebody that we expect to be in contention. She won the gold medal on vault at the Hungarian Masters Championships. So she uses a full twisting Yurchenko vault. Just as she did in qualification. Picked up a 13.1 score for it. She's had so much vaulting success domestically, but she's also the all-around Masters champion from Hungary. We mustn't forget that about her. We're so used to seeing her really contend in these vault finals at World Cup and World Challenge Cup level, but she was a medalist on beam in Baku. 13.033, it's virtually the same as qualifying, a drop of a matter of hundredths. Now we've seen a few layout Tsukahara vaults so far. We anticipate this will have the full twist added to it. So that is how Greta Moya gains a little more difficulty than some of the gymnasts that we've watched thus far. And there's no doubt that this is going to be a contending number. We'll just wait and see how tight it is with 2 more still to come. And we've got the 3rd and top qualifiers to come. So 4 additional tenths of difficulty given for that twist of the body. We've seen some gymnasts perform it without the twist. In fact, it's more than 4 additional tenths. My mathematics are not quite correct. It's 6 additional tenths. .3 for Greta Moya. She's into the silver medal position with 13.166. Now we move to Teja Belak of Slovenia. 3rd best in qualifying. indicating a handspring stretch salto with full twist. That's a 5.0. She was given a 3.8 for difficulty in the qualification phase. Did have a bit of a jarred feeling to that landing. Taya Belak didn't land fully in the final in Osijek, if my memory serves me correctly. Did well to actually keep that in an upright position because it was a slightly jarred feeling to it. Not the truest of connections on the table, perhaps. Did well to keep that upright, having found it problematic in Osijek. 12.266 was the qualification score. It's 12.933, so that is an improvement of 7/10 or thereabouts. Just a few hundredths down from 7/10. Interesting to see whether that might have been piked. A few talking points to come from this final, because we've got a really interesting conclusion. And there's the 1.5 twisting Yurchenko from Belak.
And ladies and gentlemen, representing in the crowd from Slovenia is a 31-year-old gymnast who happens to be born at Hogben 2025 World Cup and received the first rank on board.
So the experienced Taya Belak, who is 4 days away from the 31st birthday. That a much more secure landing. .033 in the qualification phase. No surprise that she has gone into the lead. 13.316, 13.3 for that second vault. So we've got a new leader in the form of Belak, as we expected with the sort of complexity she was posting. It's Belak, then it is in second place Chasha Kiselev. Now we go to Oksana Chusovitina. Top performer in qualification with a score of 13.116. Two months tomorrow, she turns 50. 17 times she's competed at the World Championships, 8 times at the Olympic Games, and she was very low in that landing. Oksana Chusovitina, who continues to feature on World Cup podia. Bronze in Cottbus at the start of the season, gold in Baku. It's very, very close to being a complete sit down of that vault. And she just springs back up with all of that experience. One and a half twisting Tsukahara vault. So that half twist further around than we've seen from a lot of gymnasts, giving it the additional 4/10. And her score is 12.833. She had a 13.333 in the preliminary round. Handspring front pike half is what's being indicated on the board. Indeed so, and very tidy looking that was too from Oksana Chusovitna. And that brings to a close the women's vault final. Well, we are unlikely to see any change to the leaderboard with 13.166 plus required to get onto the podium. But isn't it just a pleasure, such a pleasure to see veteran vaulters like Chusovitna. We started with Tiana Corinth, who is herself a veteran at the age of 35, albeit close to 15 years younger than Chuso. Good to see that Oksana Chusovitna is enjoying her current retirement, which lasted as long as all the other previous ones have lasted. And good thing too, because it is wonderful to watch her perform. It's an honour, actually, to watch her perform. Truly is. Somebody who won her first Olympic honours with the team, taking gold in Barcelona in 1992. Silver medalist on vault, representing Germany in 2008. She was the vault world champion in 2003 for Uzbekistan. 12.999 is the average score, 12.766 for the second vault, so no change to the top three. And that brings to a close this women's vault final. The classified results in the women's vault competition. The bronze medal is won by Greta Moya of Hungary, silver to Chasa Kiselev of Slovenia, and the gold medal to another Slovenian, Teja Belak. Commiserations to Sara Peta of Hungary, she almost got there. The finalists in the women's uneven bars competition. Some really experienced athletes at international level, multi-sport games, in World Cup competition at the Olympics, and we've also got some really new faces here, and that's so exciting. Good luck to them all. Let's take a look at the uneven bars finalists.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to your finalists. Representing Australia, Kate MacDonald.
We start with the bronze medalist at the last World Cup, Kate MacDonald from Australia. Commonwealth Games champion on beam. She was the top qualifier. Joanne Hoyuan Chen from Hong Kong, China, World Cup debutant. 7th best in qualifying. We do have Jim McDonald of New Zealand. We've just introduced Audrey Rousseau twice, but one of them is Jim McDonald. And she needs to be introduced because she's the reigning all-around national champion. There she is. I thought they were going to introduce Audrey Rousseau for a third time there. We've got Audrey Rousseau, who's a veteran, really experienced gymnast. Nice the way she handled that with Jim McDonald. Diana Lobok of Ukraine. Lucia Hrybar, the Olympian from Slovenia, third best in qualifying. Congratulations, Vita Prijanovic of Slovenia, first World Cup final. And Polina Diachenko of Ukraine, silver medalist on the uneven bars at the National Championships.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to present to you the panel of judges for uneven bars. Our superior jury from
The finalists in the women's uneven bars competition: Kate McDonald of Australia, the top performer in qualification. Second best, the very experienced Canadian Audrey Rousseau. And the third strongest was Lucia Hrybar of Slovenia. Real range of difficulty scores we expect to see in this final. We had difficulty of 5.7 from McDonald, and we had difficulty going down to 2.8. We'll start with McDonald. That's going to be very interesting. We'll have a real sense of the overall shape of this final based on what we get from Kate McDonald at the very beginning. And we've got Rousseau concluding the first half of the final. So that adds even more intrigue. Some athletes are very frank about not wanting to know what score they need to beat, and some are equally frank about wanting to know the score that they need to beat. I wonder where you would stand on that, and if you are indeed a practicing gymnast, what your feelings are, whether you actually feel it gives you some sense of agency to know the score, or whether you actually want to have your head completely clear of anything other than the manual task of getting up and doing your work on the apparatus. And I raise it not because I think there's an answer to that question, not because I feel there's a right and wrong, but simply because the humanity of sport is so interesting. The fact that we're all different and that we all function in our own idiosyncratic and often quirky ways. And the job of a good coach, of course, is to slightly mould the athlete to the best way of working, but slightly mould themselves to the athlete's way of working, and celebrate the uniqueness of the individual and understand how to get the best out of them in competition by knowing them psychologically and not just knowing them gymnastically. We've seen, haven't we, over the years in international gymnastics competitions, gymnasts come off the competition floor and immediately get out a notebook and jot down what they've done and calculate their own difficulty. We've seen gymnasts almost sort of chuckling amongst themselves in things like team competitions at big events because they're just losing themselves in the atmosphere of working with their peers and not thinking about the competition. We see people who like to play to the crowd and get a big reaction from them. We see those who like to block everything out. We see gymnasts with headphones on like that. And it's always interesting to listen to the gymnasts talk about their own philosophy, their own way of working, what it is that has led them to adopt a particular approach. We can all learn something from them.
Let's start our competition with our first gymnast representing Australia, Kate McDonald.
Kate McDonald from Australia, Commonwealth Games gold medalist on the balance beam, but an exceptionally accomplished uneven bars practitioner. And she won the bronze medal in Osijek, her first World Cup honours. Top qualifier. This could do very well. Uses a Maloney transition at the start. And she gets real flight in Erkachev. And Liven as well used. And a very powerful dismount from Kate McDonald of Australia. Now that's the display of the top performer in qualification.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is a performance of a 25-year-old gymnast from Australia who happens to experience the
Kate McDonald,
Games 2022.
an excellent surfer as well, by the way, did a 5-week course recently to bolster her skills.
High-performance gymnast of the year for 2022 by Gymnastics Victoria in Australia. That is Kate McDonald.
Just coming out of this catch, I mean, that was full of amplitude. Does she just, yes, exactly there, lose the momentum by catching that pack salto a little on the high side? It wasn't so easy to tell from the initial angle exactly what had happened. But it was noticeable that she'd had a loss of swing. That will be a little costly from an execution standpoint, the way that the hips went into the bar. .066 in qualification. Did very well, didn't she, to actually get the swing from this back recovered, because when you see it on the replay, it's clear how much of a clunk into the bar the hips have. But she's so experienced and she's so physically strong as well, with such impressive fundamental technique that she can deal with that. Extraordinary release move. The Erkachev just flew through the air. Well, there's quite a bit of discussion evidently going on as to what number Kate McDonald is going to get. I said at the start that it would be really interesting having her go as the first in qualification, with the potential for some of the other gymnasts to move quite considerably up the standings. Maybe that we've got a final now that's going to really keep us guessing.
Audiences, be ready for the cameras. Haven't seen it, screen it.
.13.1 for Kate McDonald. Now, we have got gymnasts coming up who might be able to challenge that if they can hit the routine in the second half. Interesting. She's done well, McDonald, better than qualification. Joanne Hoi-Yuan Chun from Hong Kong, China. Congratulations to her on a World Cup debut. She was the 7th best in qualifying. Very nicely done. Secure routine, perform well on a big stage. The complexity of it will not compare to the gymnast that we expect to really contend. But this is a 16-year-old who's appearing in World Cup competition for the first time. And she's just gone nice and smoothly through her routine, and that is a credit to her. She made her senior international debut at the Pacific Rim Championships last year in Colombia. She's also competed at the Junior Asian Championships. And she handled this occasion very nicely. What a moment to remember for Joanne Huiyuan of Hong Kong, China. What must it feel like to be on this stage, to be in your first World Cup? You've made a final. That already is further than the vast majority of elite athletes will go in any sport, actually making a regular season final like this. And she's done better than qualification, 10.566. So really well done to the 16-year-old. Memorable moment in her young career. June McDonald from New Zealand. She represents Te Awero Gymnastics, a small but very good club in Christchurch. Nearly, she wasn't a million miles away there. She came in as the 4th best in qualification. June McDonald of New Zealand. At her 5th World Cup event. It is her first time in a final. That carries with it probably a lot of emotions. She's an excellent young gymnast, by the way. She's the all-around national champion and the floor national champion. Well done. Good Jaeger somersault. Did well to hold that too. And again there. You know what, that might not be a victory on the scoreboard, but that was a triumph of determination. And again, that tells you a lot about this young gymnast. Ultimately got through that routine. Lots of heart shown. Audrey Rousseau will know all about it. Her level of experience, she'll have had that happen to her goodness knows how many times in her career. She'll have had days in the gym where it just hasn't gone right. Sometimes you have those days in training, don't you? Sometimes you have them in a competition. Sometimes they happen in qualifying. Sometimes they happen in the final. Any of you out there that practices that sport will know that feeling. But we saw a very nice Jaeger somersault from her. She was given a grant by the Inspire Foundation of New Zealand last year, helping her to come to these competitions, and that's a big part of it, isn't it? Just getting used to being an international competitor out on the road. And if you're from New Zealand, it's a long road to every competition. 5th time at a World Cup. This is the first time in a final. That's one thing to tick off. That's another accomplishment. That's another step in her career. And we look forward to the next time we see her. 10.2 for June McDonald, down by about 2 marks from qualifying.
Last gymnast for the first group of our finalists, representing Canada,
Audrey Rousseau from Canada, second best in qualifying. There's the potential here to challenge Kate McDonald. She has been a World Cup champion. That was back in 2019. No complications so far. Almost there, but good strength shown. To put some real strength in there to build the swingfulness back up. And her dismount has a nice landing to it. Now, where will that feature when we've seen all of these 8 routines? Rousseau, who was the second best qualifier, the gymnast who made her World Championship debut in 2015. She was part of the Canadian team that finished 6th in their final. She also was the first reserve for the vault final at the 2021 World Championships. She's another of those athletes who's always been there, working for a place on the national team, showing enormous love for the sport, enormous determination. Super role model. Look back at the Kachev of Audrey Rousseau. .7, quite close to qualifying, but the execution has dropped by close to 3/10. So McDonald has seen off one of the challengers. The first gymnast to go in the second half of the final is Diana Lobok, who qualified in 6th place, but with a 5.366 execution score. So that could be a very different kettle of fish once we actually get to the final. Her teammate Polina Diachenko is going through the warm-up process. Lovely. Good to see folk from all over the world supporting the athletes here at the Doha World Cup. And thank you to you, wherever you're supporting them from. Here is a gymnast who has got a routine that could challenge for top spot. Diana Lobok of Ukraine. 10.466 in qualification, though, with real execution issues, but it's got some complexity to it. Performs the Giga somersault with success. And the Jaeger as well. Having a few little issues with the handstands and keeping the leg form precise. And then the double pike to conclude. That's a different story from qualification for Diana Lobok, the reigning all-around champion of Ukraine. Made her senior European Championship debut last year in Rimini. Well, let's have a look back at this very different sort of performance from Lobok compared to the preliminary stage of the competition. Hack salto had to then get the swingfulness built back up afterwards. Uses that Maloney skill, the Shaposhnikova variation, to go back from low to high. Some of the handstands were, by the looks of things, not quite at the vertical position. There was a little degree of tolerance allowed. And then the double pike to conclude with a small amount of landing adjustment. Execution score in qualification of 5.366. And she is up 11.566 on this occasion. One extra mark of execution.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's continue the competition now. Welcoming the gymnast representing Slovenia, Lucia
Ryba of Slovenia. Now, she scored 12.433 in qualification. The third best. She's a very accomplished performer on the uneven bars. She's been a World Challenge Cup champion. And she's moving with real assurance throughout this display. That is impressive from Lucia Ryba of Slovenia, the Olympian who won the gold medal at her home World Challenge Cup last year, right before heading off for the Games. Silver medalist in Baku at the World Cup earlier this year. There's no doubt that that is going to be a medal contending display with two still to go. Very good Jaeger somersault. And then a Kachev with equal purpose. She keeps the heels together as she transitions from the high to the low. Form was a really strong feature of this display. This was the work of, and I use the term very aware of the fact that it makes her seem like she's sort of in her mid-30s, but it's the work of a veteran. She's only 23, but she is a veteran when it comes to World Cups. because she's been grafting away at World Cups for years and years and years, packing so many routines into the season, traveling the world, working to get into finals, working to get into medal contention. And there's an elevation that's come from being an Olympian too. Oh, so close to the lead, 13.033. She really has challenged Kate McDonald, who's held on, and McDonald is guaranteed a place on the podium.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the gymnast representing Slovenia, Vita Prijanovic.
Really special moment for Vita Prijanovic of Slovenia. She's done 4 World Cup events this season. This is her first final. Very nicely done. Another routine not dominated by complexity, but dominated by clean, poised gymnastics. She actually only did beam and floor at the first 4 World Cup events. She's competed at Junior Balkan Championship level. She's a huge fan of the Gadirova twins, by the way. Vita Prijanovic dreams of being at a competition with them. And she's a very impressive and tough young athlete. She actually has battled with juvenile idiopathic arthritis in her young career. So she has had to pain manage. She's had to be careful with her training. She's had to deal with a very difficult condition. How impressive that is. Congratulations to Vita Prijanovic on her first ever World Cup final appearance. 10.466 is virtually the same as qualification, so that's a nice bit of consistency produced. She's just lost a little difficulty, 1/10 down. We have a gymnast here who could make a quest for a place on the podium. Polina Diachenko of Ukraine, 8th best in qualifying with 10.066, but with a low execution score. Not all according to plan. Sets up for the straddle Jaeger somersault and performs it with a degree of assurance, but then unfortunately just clunking into the bar. Oh, goodness me. Just stay where you are for the moment. She's done exactly the right thing here, just staying down on the mat, not moving. Well done to her, really mature. Coach came over just to have a conversation first to make sure that she didn't move. Good to see that she's now up and will receive, obviously, further medical assessment.
Ukrainian Championships 2024, bagging the first round on vault, and of course the second in uneven bars, and of course the third ranking on floor exercise. Ladies and
Well, that was a very tough moment to watch there for Polina Diachenko. Stadium announcer's done a lovely job there, just getting the crowd behind her. Not that they were anything other than behind her, but nice to get some warm applause, which she deserves. It's got to be a bit of a scary moment, that. It's certainly, in terms of the aftermath, what you want to see, which is a gymnast just remaining where they are, not leaping straight up. Very important that time be taken to assess. Now, there is ongoing medical assessment here for Polina Diachenko. We're going to take as long as we need before the competition goes on. I'm not going to read the score out because it's of no consequence. What's of consequence is her condition, her health. We're not going to show you the treatment process out of the dignity that the athlete deserves here, and to give the medical staff time to do their work. The classified results in the uneven bars competition: the bronze medal to Audrey Rousseau of Canada, silver to Lucia Ribar of Slovenia, and gold won by Kate MacDonald of Australia. The women's vault victory ceremony at the Aspire Dome in Doha. Hungary's Greta Moya, the winner of the bronze medal. For the 6th time, she is a bronze medalist in World Cup competition. She has overwhelmingly a full set of colours at this level. Sasha Kitilev of Slovenia on the podium again. She won the silver medal in Cottbus and said it was 100% worth going to the gym, even on the days when she wanted to throw everything away. She went on to win bronze in Baku and now silver again in Doha. Great season for the gymnast, who is just over a week away from her 32nd birthday. Wonderful to see. She now has 29 World Cup medals. And the Slovenian Teja Belak is the champion for the 2nd time this season. She wins a World Cup gold medal, and she is moving closer to 40 World Cup honours. And she herself is only 4 days away from her 31st birthday, having had 2 comebacks to the sport after both of her children were born a few years ago.
I would like to invite the authorities to please join our members for a photo opportunity.
شكرا اذا رئيس الاتحاد القطري ونائب
The medalists in the women's vault competition.
And once again, let's give them a round of applause.
The victory ceremony in the women's uneven bars competition. Huge congratulations to Audrey Rousseau. She's back on a World Cup podium, having won gold on beam immersion in 2019. She's a gymnast who has displayed such perseverance and such determination. Great example to any young athlete wanting to be part of the national squad. On the subject of gymnasts who are a wonderful example, those who are role models, Lucia Hribar of Slovenia, who seems to be going from strength to strength to strength. Another silver medal, having finished second in Azerbaijan earlier this season. A week ago, she made it onto a World Cup podium for the first time. You can't keep her off it now. Bronze in Osijek and gold in Doha at the Aspire Dome. Kate MacDonald is your champion.
We would like to request the authorities to please join our members for a photo opportunity.
The medalists in the women's uneven bars competition.
Let's give them a round of applause.
That is a real podium of disciplined, hard-working, passionate athletes